All right, Prater in the ball game, Idaho Sports Talk. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Prater is back from his Middle Fork week-long excursion down 100 miles of whitewater rapids.
You got the Middle Fork right.
With 29 other people. I had to write it down. I kept calling it the South Fork, and Prater wasn't happy about that.
That's all right. That's all right.
Middle Fork. So, yeah, man. Basically, before we get going here, for people who are just joining us because it's 5 o'clock, Prater, you were gone all week last week, and you said it was a bucket list vacation. You've been planning this trip for over a decade. You finally made it happen, and it was everything you wanted and more.
Yeah, it was life-changing. And anybody that's been on this trip, and there's plenty of Idahoans who have, about half my group last week was from Idaho. The rest were from outside of the state. All 21 of you now are my new best friends. That's kind of the cool part of the deal. You don't shower. You share the same box to poop in for a week. You carry it out. You hang out with each other for 24 hours a day. You have intense, crazy things that happen to you when you walk away and you have new best friends. It's a beautiful experience. I'd like to challenge somebody who has been on that trip that says that didn't change their lives. It's pretty cool.
Anybody went on that trip? Text us. Let us know. 208-424-9300. You mentioned going number 2, and I don't want to spend too much time on this for obvious reasons. What about number 1? Can you go
in the river?
You can go in the bushes.
Well, they tell you to do it in the river.
Okay. But you're not allowed to poop in the woods.
In a box.
Least, yeah.
Leave no trace. LNT. Leave no trace. Leave no trace. You carry everything out. But pee is sterile, so they just tell you to go pee in the river.
Okay,
including girls. They have a class for the girls at the beginning of the trip to how to pee in the river.
Gosh, man.
I was not invited to that.
Yeah, gosh, man.
But the guys can kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Poor ladies. Tip of the cap.
They call it a groover. By the way, this is a weird story. They call it a groover, and about 3 days in, somebody says the toilet that everybody shares for the entire week.
They call it the groover?
And somebody said, why do you guys call it the groover? And it goes back to military days and ammo boxes. You know those green ammo boxes?
Yes.
When the World War II was over, there was this massive amount of military supplies that were being sold. They didn't need them anymore, so they sold them to people. So people started buying these ammo boxes, these military boxes. Well, outdoors people started buying those and using it. And when you sit on a box and stand up, it leaves a groove in your butt. So they call it a groover.
Okay. Those military boxes
they leave a little groove in your butt when you sit on them. So from here on out in the Prater household, it's called the groover. If I ever say something about the ball game, I'm going to the groover.
Yeah.
We're going to go get groovy at the groover.
Why do they call it the latrine?
I don't know.
Or the lavatory. Do you know why they call it? Anyway, I'm moving on.
Yeah, let's move on.
San Diego State.
Speaking of garbage.
In the Mountain West. Yeah. So
speaking of a poopy smell here, there's a poopy smell permeating.
Speaking of groovers, man, San Diego State is going to be going on a groover instead of a regular toilet because we're not going to have a conference to play in moving forward, Prater. This happened last week. Bob, who did a great job filling in for you, by the way. Well done, Bob. We talked about this, and obviously you got back into town. You got back to technology. You got back to the real world, and you saw this was going down. I don't know how much it surprised you, but just before we move on, just your thoughts on everything that you've seen now, heard, and you're now caught up on San Diego State in the Mountain West.
Yes, here comes the divorce. And we all knew the divorce was coming. And sometimes divorces are simple and easy. Sometimes divorces are nasty and ugly and expensive. And this one's starting off not too well. San Diego State sends the Mountain West a letter. The Mountain West interprets that as an official letter that they're going to leave the conference. San Diego State wants more time to leave the conference. They want some financial considerations to leave the conference. Not only did the Mountain West say F you, they said, no, we're not going to do any of that stuff for you. They stripped the president of its spot on the board of directors in the Mountain West. So the San Diego State president no longer sits on the board. And they basically said you have to meet the June 30th deadline, midnight June 30th, to get out, or you're going to have to pay either $17 or $34 million. And we're not going to let you do it in payments. San Diego State, in their letter, the presidential letter to the Mountain West, said, we just did the conference a favor. We just won all those basketball games and we won all those basketball units, and you get to keep them because that's the rules. But I think just because we're leaving that as a parting gift, you guys should be nice to us. Gloria Navarez, thank you. Don't be nice. Play hardball. This is not charity. This is serious. And losing San Diego State out of the Mountain West is a big time deal. It's a big loss for the Mountain West. Do not make it any easier. They're going to leave. There's no doubt about that. But don't give them any concessions right now. The Mountain West is playing hardball, and I love it, ball game.
When somebody breaks up with you, They don't say, well, hey, since I did all this for you during the relationship, and I, hey, I bought you those, that new china that we're eating, that we eat off of, and I installed the new, kitchen table. I did all that. So does that mean because I did that, I'm still breaking up with you, but I want some respect on the way out. Hey,
Exactly.
take a hike. Most people that you break up that you're breaking up with are going to do what Gloria Nevarez did. Say, no, we're not going to. No, I get it. Yeah. You had a nice run in the NCAA tournament, a historic run for our league.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. But no, just because you had that run, that doesn't give you all this leeway. That doesn't mean we're going to cut you all this slack and roll out the red carpet for you to leave us to go on to greener pastures. So you think certainly way more money coming in for your program. This was the first opportunity I thought Gloria Nevarez had to kind of step up and let people who follow her league know what type of league this is going to be moving forward. And I thought she did a wonderful job saying no. The one thing I will say, though, Prater, is, San Diego State did not give its letter of resignation. It simply requested an extension. And also, we want to know if we can renegotiate the finances we need to pay on the way out.
But it wasn't the official letter, but the letter did include a line that says, with intent to leave your conference. Okay. And so Nevarez interpreted that as, okay, because San Diego State has to notify in writing Boise or the Mountain West that it is leaving. Gloria Nevarez took that letter.
Yeah.
And San Diego State responded by saying, no. That wasn't our letter of we're leaving. We're just asking for some help. Well, Gloria said, yeah, you said in there you're leaving. I took that as intent to leave. President, you're no longer sitting on my board. I think this is a bunch of grandstanding. The reporting out there has been great. ESPN, Pete Thamel's done a great job. Chris Vanini of The Athletic has done a good job. Both of them have been on this show. They're both unbelievably connected, credible reporters. And Mark Ziegler out of San Diego as well. So all three of them, those are the three heavy hitters reporting this story. They're all three doing a fantastic job. But I think at the end of the day, it's just, I don't think anything's going to happen. I mean, I still think San Diego State is going to leave in time for the 24 season. I still think they're going to get the deadline. The problem is they don't want to wait around for the Pac-12 to come to its an official conclusion. And the Pac-12 has been screwing around. The Pac-12 has been supposed to be making its decision. Remember when Thanksgiving was a deadline, and then Christmas was a deadline, and then Valentine's Day was a deadline, and then they just kept pushing it. Well, here we are 10 days from the deadline. The Pac-12 doesn't know what it's doing. The San Diego State may very well not have a conference to play in. They may have just gotten kicked out of the Mountain West, which was the San Diego State Union Tribune headline. Did the Mountain West just kick out San Diego State?
Yeah.
It kind of did. I think the worst thing that could happen here for San Diego State is that they stay in the conference one more year because they can't meet this deadline. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, is already on the record saying we can't pay the extra money to leave after the deadline, which is going to go from $17 to $34 million. And the Mountain West needs that money. They need that money desperately. So they're going to try to get all that money as humanly possible. The Pac-12, I don't think, is going to make any kind of decisions. So this thing may San Diego State basically rolled the dice and said, we think that the Pac-12 is still going to invite us. It may not happen by June 30th. So we need some help from the Mountain West. No, thank you.
Now, do you know if it's, $16.5 million that San Diego State has to pay to exit, or if it's the $34 million if they have to wait, if they just want to get out as quick as they can and they somehow, some way find a way to get the $34 million? Does that money get dispersed throughout the other Mountain West schools? Where does that money go? Do you have any idea on that?
I don't. I mean, the penalty is essentially 3 years of revenue sharing money. That's what the 16.5 to $17 million is the 3-year average for the revenue sharing money that the Mountain West has been putting out. Deep into one of these stories, I can't remember if it was the ESPN story or the Athletic story or the San Diego newspaper story, said here in a couple of, here it is right here. It's in the San Diego Union Tribune. Mountain West schools are expecting a check for nearly $6 million in the coming weeks. So there's this, 5.5 or whatever it is.
And Boise State gets a little more than
1.8. That's a significant number. $6 million is a record number of money that's been distributed to the Mountain West this year. So if that's $6 million, Boise State roughly with its $1.8 million extra bonus money that it gets has been getting right around $6 million a year. So Boise State now is going to go from $6 million to at least $8 million in conference revenue. That's a significant number for Jeremiah Dickey. I guarantee you he saw that number. Where that $17 million go, that's a great question, Ballgame. I need to figure that out.
Another thing too, and I love this part of this whole saga, was San Diego State in, I don't know, its second or third letter back to the Mountain West said, and by the way, when you cut the $6 million checks, make sure you send us ours, because that wasn't an official one. But typically what I've read in the past, when conferences leave, the conference won't pay them that money, and they will use it as part of the money that San Diego State would owe.
Yep.
So you would take the $17 million that San Diego State owes, and you would subtract 6 from that, or the $16.5 million, you would subtract $6 million. So now San Diego State, now you only owe us $10.5 million. But San Diego State's like, whoa, they need that money, because they don't have any money coming in from the Pac-12 right now. And Gloria Navarro's thinking, you know what, you're not going to get your check. We're keeping it, and we're taking it off the bill you owe us. And I love how San Diego State had to fire back, like, well, hey, they're totally backpedaling on this.
Yes, they are.
Their tail is between their legs. They fumbled the ball. They put too much salt in the soup. They messed this thing up. And it's kind of entertaining to see how this thing is all working. I mean, San Diego State, like you said, they are going to leave the league. Question will be, is this coming year going to be the last year they're in the league, or will it be 2 years starting with this August? They'll have to stay another year on that unless they want to pay the $34 million or find. I mean, the Pac-12's not going to front that bill, will it?
I doubt it.
They're not going to pay their $34 million to get San Diego State in the league a little quicker.
I don't think so. And the Pac-12 certainly has its own issues. Paul Feinbaum came out today and went nuts on the Pac-12, saying he doesn't even know if it'll exist by, was it 2026?
Yep, he said by 26 the conference is going to just dissolve.
Yeah, and certainly there's a lot of issues out there. San Diego State is playing it's playing with fire here in terms of trying to desperately get into a conference that it has no idea what it looks like. I'm not blaming San Diego State. The presidential letter to the Mountain West probably was a little bit misguided, and thankfully, Gloria Navarro has not only said no, they're not going to give them the payment. They're not going to give them a deadline. They're not going to give them renegotiate or So I like the fact that the Mountain West is playing hardball, but I don't have a problem with San Diego State doing what it's doing. It's conjecture, it's negotiations. And I think over the next 10 days, both parties will figure this out. But San Diego State, if they leave for the Pac-12 and all of a sudden the Pac-12 implodes or things get squirrely.
Dude, I think I know where you're going with
I mean, it could be like a Boise State, San Diego State Big East thing, although Boise State and San Diego State had a little bit more control of that. And they backed out, and then that whole league got weird. The whole Pac-12. I mean, what if San Diego State's in the Pac-12 with, the 4 Northwestern schools in Boise State?
Yeah.
So
or if the Pac-12 does dissolve and all those teams you mentioned are now going into this new revamped either Mountain West or a new league, or certainly if it's the Mountain West and San Diego State has to call Gloria Navarez and say, this didn't really work out for us, but we're really excited to come back and be a part of the Mountain West again. I mean, that's a phone call that you do not want to make that. You know?
And you probably have to say yes.
It's like, have you ever, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Have you ever broken up with a girl?
Yes.
And you broke up with the girl because you thought this new girl you liked was way better.
I have never done that.
And you find out that the new girl that was way better, she dumps you in a couple of weeks, or she cheats on you, or it's not way better. And then you got to go back to the girl you just
don't do that.
And said, hey, babe, it didn't work out. I've really learned my lesson. You're the one I want.
It sounds
I
like,
should have known.
Have you done that?
I don't think I have, man. I don't think I have,
yeah,
but I know. I mean, it's a thing.
It is a
that
thing.
Exists.
It
People
does
do
exist.
that.
It does exist.
I know people who do that. Like I have friends who end up marrying a girl that I know they broke up with her. He didn't want her. He tried something else. That didn't work out. Then I find out 2 years later he's back marrying the other girl. Like, dude, come on. Yeah, the love of your life anyway.
Yeah.
But that's what San Diego State, that's the position they'll be in. Like, they have to come back and try to make things good with Gloria in the Mountain West. I don't know. What do you guys think? 208-424-9300 Cloverdale Plumbing text line.
I think it'll all solve itself, but we'll see. The drama's been kind of fun. It was one of my favorite things to read when I got back from the mountains and caught up. Great reporting from all three sources. Really appreciated the amount of detail that's out there. Somebody's leaking, somebody's squawking, because everybody's reporting the same thing. So there's some San Diego State people out there talking about the Pac-12. There's some Pac-12 people out there talking about San Diego State, and right now they are not getting along.
You guys sports fans, we assume so. You're listening to us. There's no more basketball. There's no more hockey. Football doesn't start for a couple of months. I know you got baseball. What are you doing to scratch or to itch your sports scratch your sports itch? Let me get that right on the third time, Prater. What are you doing right now? What are you looking forward to come sports season? I mean, these are truly entering the dog days of the sports calendar. I mean, now what? What are you guys doing? That's what we want to talk about a little bit coming up. It's Prater and the Ball Game. Hey, sweet deal this week is Deja Brew Bistro. That's in the heart of downtown Meridian. You give us $25, we'll give you 50 to spend at Deja Brew Bistro. Click the sweet deal link at ktik.com. That's Friday morning at 9 a.m.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.